Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Dr. Soul Brother, the doctor who has the remedies for your ills. I want to encourage everybody to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and please comment. I'd love to hear back from you, whether you like the show, dislike, or indifferent. All comments are welcome. That's how you grow. What we want to deal with is the recent controversy surrounding Sage Steele. Sage Steele is not Nikole Hannah Jones by no stretch of the imagination. And as we go on, we're going to explore how and why. First of all, Sage Steele, born of a black father and white mother, uh, who was recently fired from ESPN, sportscaster, um, and made some controversial remarks about President, former President Barack Obama, um, taking issue, frankly, with him referring to himself as a black man. Now, Barack Obama, former President Barack Obama, comes out of a similar background as she does, black father, white mother. And yet she had the audacity, the unmitigated gall, I dare say, to be critical of Barack Obama because while he is of mixed parentage, he identifies himself as black. I have to say the same thing that others have said. Say still, how dare you question him? And who do you think you are? Who are you? And anybody else under the sound of my voice who may come from a similar background as Sage Steele, or even those who may not be of mixed parentage, because you have other people who are not of the same or similar background as a Sage Steele who concur with this uh, crazy, convoluted way of thinking. Um, Sage Steele is othering herself. In other words, when you say biracial, quote unquote, which is a description that comes from mainstream white America, not out of the black community. That is a fairly new term that goes back to, I believe, the 1990s. 1990s, definitely the 2000 biracial, quote unquote. You either one or the other. Let me say that again. You either one or the other. You are not both. You may be of mixed parentage. That's understood, but you are not both. You are one or the other. That's like somebody saying I'm both male and female. You're one or the other. But let me not digress any further because that's going to take us down a whole nother rabbit hole and that's going to get me off topic. But here's the thing: Sage got dragged for her anti-blackness, not because of the fact that she is of mixed parentage. Let me say that again. Sage, you got dragged for your anti-blackness, not because you're of mixed parentage. There are plenty of people walking around who are not dragged, who have come out of similar backgrounds as you. It's your politics that people don't like. And we're not just talking about the fact that you are a conservative Republican. You're talking about your racial politics are jacked up. And quite frankly, you sage still, pardon me, are a bad influence on others. Um, this seems to be a common trait in people like Sage Steele, people who think like her, to try to weaponize against black folk. Meghan Markle, who married into the royal family, is guilty of this. Sage Steele is offended. Others of that ilk are offended by being referred to as black. That's the real truth of the matter. And Dr. Soul Brother, frankly, has to question, how were you raised, Sage Steele? Well, real quick, Dr. Soul Brother is going to make a comparative contrast by two people. One, Vice President Kamala Harris, who is of mixed parentage, black father from Jamaica, Indian mother from India. So, Vice President Kamala Harris, and by extension her sister Maya Harris, are of mixed parentage. And yet, Vice President Kamala Harris, in an interview with Faria Shadeh some years ago, said straight up that her mother was acutely aware that she would be raising her, because this is after the mother and father divorced, that she would be raising her daughters in a society where they would be viewed and deemed as black. Remember, Vice President Harris was born in 1964. Her sister Maya, born 1967. This is during the turbulent 1960s. This is against the backdrop of what? The civil rights movement and also black power was in full swing. In Oakland, California, is where Vice President Harris was born and raised, with an exception of the 5 years of her youth that was spent in Canada. And even with that, she spent time in California during the holidays and also during the summers. Um, Vice President Harris's mother, Indian woman from India, had her children exposed and immersed in black culture in this country while they were being taught and raised in their Indian heritage. So it's clear once you understand that somebody like Vice President Kamala Harris and her sister Maya Harris uh, were immersed in black culture. So black culture is not foreign to either one of them. The other person I want to focus on is the author of the 1619 Project, Miss Nikole Hannah-Jones, who is a professor of journalism at Howard University today. She said recently that her father, who was from Greenwood, Mississippi, mind you, Nikole Hannah-Jones, similar background as uh, Sage Steele, but radically different. Black father, white mother. And yet, Nikole Hannah-Jones's father, who was from Greenwood, Mississippi, I believe, taught Nikole and her sisters that they were black and their mother was white. Okay? So, um, her racial identity was being shaped, similar to how Vice President Kamala Harris's racial identity was being shaped as children. And we won't even get into, well, we will get into this, how as a youngster, Nikole Hannah-Jones was further radicalized by her black male teacher, Mr. Ray Dial. He helped to radicalize the black students at Nikole's school, the school, white school that she and other black students were bused to. Okay? Um, Anybody with half a brain should be able to see that, you know what? There's a big difference between a Sage Steele type and a Nikole Hannah-Jones. Nikole Hannah-Jones is secure within her identity. Here's a woman who clearly um, identifies with black people and black culture because of her black father. And it was helped even more with Mr. Ray Dial, who was her black history uh, teacher when she was in school. Sage Steele, unfortunately, did not have that. And Sage Steele is an example of what happens when a person is not grounded in their racial identity. Sage Steele, you're being dragged because you represent anti-black politics. Yeah, you acknowledge your black side and you acknowledge that you have a black father, but you clearly want to other yourself. But guess what? With your othering of yourself and talking about your both and all of that, and if according to you, Barbara Walters um, told you that you were black on the View, that you couldn't put down both on a census, which is correct. Well, guess what? That offended you, obviously, because the motivation is anti-blackness, is what is happening. And for you, Sage Steele, and others of that ilk, you are a bad influence on our young folk. We are a critical net mass as a people. And let me be clear. Um, Another part of your anti-black politics is the fact that, according to Rachel Lindsay, you were thrilled that Rachel Lindsay chose this non-black man, i.e., white man, on the show The Bachelor. Hmm? That's you, Sage Steele. So you are similar to what would be referred to as the tragic mulatto. And the tragic mulatto who was portrayed in the film Imitation of Life. Sage Steele is a modern imitation of life, a tragic mulatto. And somebody like that is should never, I repeat, never have any kind of influence on our young folk. Ever. You need to get it together, girl. Sage Steele. You would have had to have navigated through a segregated society if this were, let's say, 60, 70, 80 years ago. If you were in a segregated society, let's say like down south, you would have to navigate as the Negro. This is before we deemed ourselves as black, but back then you would have been deemed as a Negro during segregation. So, in other words, Sage Steele, if you had to get on a public bus or train or something like that, you would have had to go to the back of the bus. They wouldn't have been like, well, wait a second. You're kind of light, girl. What are you? You got a white mama, a white daddy or something? That would have been irrelevant. Because trust and believe, there were people who were like you, who came from backgrounds where you were mixed, they were mixed parented. And guess what? You were relegated to the back of the bus. We saw what the deal was with Mrs. Rosa Parks. Now, Mrs. Rosa Parks had two black parents, but she was very light skinned. They didn't ask her, well, is one of your parents black? I mean, one of your parents white? White daddy, white mother? It wouldn't have mattered. You didn't get a pass. Frederick Douglass didn't get a pass. Frederick Douglass was an enslaved person on the plantation. Okay, Chicken George, an ancestor of Mr. Alex Haley, white daddy, black mother. Okay, he was enslaved on the plantation, was he not? Let me continue. Um, so Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, pardon me, and Nikole Hannah Jones were taught correctly as children. Vice President Kamala Harris was taught correctly by her mother, and Nikole Hannah Jones was taught correctly by her father. And let's be clear, say Steele, you are similar to Meghan Markle, who married into the royal family in England. She's what you would call, or what would be deemed as what? Um, Racially ambiguous. And let's be clear, Sage Steele, you know you would love to look like a Meghan Markle who could pass quicker than you could. There's no way on God's green earth you walk in a room and somebody would assume, hey, that's a white gal. No, it don't work like that. No, 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 that's not the deal. And so um, we need to understand too, Sage Steele and others of that ilk, that this othering, because when you use the term biracial, that's the quote unquote othering. It's another category. You're not black, you're not white, you're not there. That's the othering. That's like in what that is, and a lot of people need to understand this. That is a spillover or transport from colonial, Anglophone, or Francophone Caribbean. Let me repeat myself. That is a transport from a colonial, Anglophone, and Francophone Caribbean. In other words, during the colonial period, in places like Trinidad, Jamaica, Barbados, Grenada, those were Anglophone societies where, of course, the dominant language was English. And the Francophone Caribbean, Haiti, Martinique, Guadeloupe, etc. In either Anglophone or Francophone, you were deemed as colored if you were of mixed parentage. Okay? Let's be clear. Well, whereas in these United States, Negro and colored were used interchangeably. But you see, we're now in a space where people try to use an escape hatch or an exit out of blackness. And truth be told, this escape hatch or exit is not unique as it relates to people who are of mixed parentage. You also have black folk who are undeniably black who have two black parents who try to escape. And that's a whole nother conversation. That is a conversation, truth be told, folk don't want to have. But one day, maybe Dr. Soul Brother will have to deal with that as well. So, in conclusion, we want to say this to those folk who are of similar backgrounds as Sage Steele and represent the very opposite, like a Nikole Hannah Jones, they're on the right side of history. That's clear. And it's also clear that they serve as better role models than a Sage Steele type. The people of that ilk who are like a Sage Steele are not good role models. And they are confused. And what ends up happening is that they need some serious intervention. Intervention. So, Sage Steele, people like you need intervention. And I have to ask, and I will be the first to admit, I don't know you, I don't know your family, but I have to question comparing yourself and your outlook with, say, a Vice President Kamala Harris and or a Nikole Hannah Jones. What was your upbringing? Were you taught your black identity? I have to question that. We have to question that. So let's be clear. Black folk are not dragging you because you are mixed parentage. That's not the issue. The issue is your outlook, your politics are jacked up. That's the issue. So hopefully you can get it together. But if you choose to be on the wrong side, don't come over here, okay? Because we don't need this. We're already a critical mass as a people. And your kind of rhetoric, your type of line of thinking is not so we need. That's nothing but poison. Straight up poison. And it's poison for youngsters who haven't lived yet, who may be on the verge, on the fence somewhere, and there already some confusion given this what's going on in this society. And here you come with some more madness to compound an already bad situation. So I just want to end it here and give my take on this and highly suggest to those youngsters who may come out of a similar background as a Sage Steele or Nikole Hannah Jones. You want to know about the 1619? Look to somebody like Lord, look to somebody like Nikole Hannah Jones. Nikole Hannah Jones is clearly a woman who engages in black affirmation, something that Sage Steele refuses to do. So, of the two, look to Nikole Hannah Jones, not Sage Steele. And it's clear, Sage Steele, you ain't Nikole Hannah Jones by no stretch of the imagination. So, Dr. Soul Brother is going to sign off right now and encourage you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Please want to see and hear your comments. And until the next time, God bless.